And I'm going to wave right now. Once I see myself waving, I will start talking as you're heading. I went and bought Christy some ginger ale. So there we go. I'm waving, guys. Welcome to this week's edition of Talking Picard on the Escape Pod. What are you doing, Neil? Or not Neil, Thad?
I was picking my nose.
Okay, just making sure. Welcome to this week's edition of Talking Picard on the Escape Pod Castaways Content Creator Network, as we're live on the Escape Podcast channel, and shortly after that, we will jump over to Going Nerdy's channel to talk Star Wars Episode 2 of the latest season 7. But right now, we would normally be joined by Mrs. Anthony, but she is currently watching the end of this week's episode, which we will absolutely get to.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
This week's episode was called The Impossible Box.
That's what she said.
Name of your porn movie.
You know, I'm unfortunately wasn't able to make a lot of notes this week, so I'm having to go off of another website that'll help me keep track of exactly everything that happened in the order that it happened. But this week was jam-packed with stuff, in my opinion. Initial thoughts of the episode overall without giving away the ending. Thad, go first.
3 words: yoga sex dungeon.
Okay, Neil.
Well, I suppose I could do 3 words, but okay, three words. So much better.
That's 2 words.
that is quite true. We start with we always apparently start with flashbacks.
Yeah,
we always start the Picard episodes with flashbacks. This time, not technically a flashback, if you will, but
it was a dream.
It was a dream. It was one of Soji's dreams where she's walking through a hallway down to her father's laboratory, if you will, where he's growing orchids of all sorts of colors.
Yes.
And as she opens the door, and peeks around, all of a sudden her father realizes she's there and yells at her, and she wakes up. It's a nightmare.
I gotta say, as I watched this, I was thinking to myself, he's probably watching something online that he shouldn't be, and his daughter walks in on him, and it's just weird and awkward, right? And that's why he yelled. That was my first thought.
But the dream, I instantly thought, okay, this is a dream. It's Soji.
All right.
But
we're joined by Mrs. Anthony now.
Yeah.
3 words of how to explain this episode without giving it away.
Without giving it away?
Without giving it away. 3 words to explain this episode. Thad said yoga sex dungeon. Neil said so much better. What do you say?
I need to think for a little while. Talk about what you're thinking. I'll come.
Think for a while.
Okay.
All right. Think for a while is the 3 words.
So, well, the one, it's one of the minor criticisms I had right at the start of the episode, which kind of made me think, oh God, here we go again. But as soon as I saw the episode started, I figured, okay, it's Soji's dream, and then the camera kind of like gives you a shot of the necklace around her neck, and it's like, I'm not stupid. I get that this is Soji as a child. This is a memory, some kind of a dream memory of her as a child that's not actually her. You don't need to telegraph to me that it is her by having the child wear the necklace. I'm not stupid.
I didn't even notice the necklace, Neil.
Yeah.
I actually thought they did a really good job at casting a young girl that looks like Soji.
Yeah. I'm right with you, Paul. I thought they did a great job. My only thought with this is what kid wears pajamas like that?
And what kid wears a necklace? What, you don't put your kids to bed with a bloody necklace on. It'll get stuck in their hair.
Yeah. But I mean, like I did like this dream sequence. I thought it was really cool. And liked the following sequence, but I thought it was all right. I mean, this didn't bother me.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it was bothering me at all. So, we're absolutely there now. She wakes up and she's sitting lying next to Narek, and he wants to know what's going on, of course, because he's trying to be a spy as best as he can.
Ugh, he's a terrible spy.
And then she asks him what his real name was.
I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
It was sort of a it was a trust moment, and the way that he responded, I started to think, okay, maybe this guy isn't so bad. Maybe he's not going to be the bad guy here.
The dialogue between those two characters was so much better in this episode. I don't know if it was better writers, but it was just so much better. It was more meaningful. There was more impact in the conversation between the two of them right at the start, right from the get-go. I mean, it's pillow talk. Ultimately, it's pillow talk. But it just... I don't know, it just seemed better. I'm going to have to double check and see if the writers for this episode are different from the writers on previous episodes, because there was just something about the conversation between them that I thought, you know what, I'm actually interested. I was drawn in to the conversation between the two of them, even though it was just a bedroom scene. But yeah, I was hooked straight away.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, Neil. I do believe that this was much better writing that we've seen from the show, period. The dialogue between the two, I really felt like Narek is falling for her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a cool moment. I was like, all right, maybe he's not the bad guy. Maybe, it's the Lannister sister who's making things weird, but like I really liked this scene, and the name I thought was a really cool touch. I know nothing about Romulans, and so to hear that they have this like thing that differentiates themselves from each other, and I thought it was awesome. I thought it was really, really cool. But it was emotional, right? He was there for her. I gotta say though too, we've kind of been complaining about the TVMA rating for this. I'm glad, knock on wood, that we haven't seen like a full sex scene. That would just be really weird. And I mean, the implication is they are lovers, right? But we don't need to see that to know that. And I think it's cool that they don't show that, simply because I think it would take away from the emotional gravitas of the moment.
Plus, it's Star Trek.
Yeah. Plus, it's Star Trek.
Yeah. So we end up back on the bridge of the of Rios's ship, the La Sirena, and we see that Girardi. Girardi and Picard are talking about exactly how apparently that Maddox passed away.
It felt like a debrief.
It felt like a debrief. Previous, even though they gave us a previously on Star Trek Picard, we were getting a previously on Star Trek Picard in the middle of the episode. But more that Girardi was actually ending up, covering up the fact that she pretty much smothered him with a space pillow.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What did you think about Girardi's discussion with Picard?
JL.
Yeah.
No, not yet. We're not talking about Banana Phone yet.
Yeah, I think she managed to pretty much tell the truth while completely covering up what she did. Like, she was saying things like, I can't believe it, or I can't get over it. She mentioned, I think, that that it was harder than she thought it would be. And yes, she had been close. She murdered him, and we don't know her motives yet. I have suspicions as to where I think she's going to go, but she managed to be a tragic character while still being completely unsympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Jardy basically probes Picard about the last time that he was on a Borg cube, even though it's not the exact same one as the artifact that they're heading to at this point. But rather he's talking all about what happened in the Best of Both Worlds in that episode. He's talking about what happened in season, I think it was season 5. Locutus was season 5.
Season 4 at the very least.
Yeah, maybe the end of season 4. Now. But we get a lot of without going further in the episode, we get a lot of backstory. If you don't know who the heck Picard is, you knew a little bit, right, Thad?
Okay, so I had seen the face mask with Picard, like when it came out, like the eye thing. I had seen Picard as Borg, right? Or member of the Borg, or Borgish. I don't know.
He was a member of the Borg called Locutus of Borg.
Okay. So like I'd seen that, but it is so long ago that I had forgotten, and because I wasn't connected to it, it just did not. I did not resonate in my mind that he was member of the Borg until like even them talking about it. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then seeing the kind of like the flashes, I thought was cool. And then like the discussion, I think, helped quite a bit to clarify what he went through, right? We do see a lot of the emotional roller coaster of Picard and in this episode, which I loved. But it was, yeah.
The nostalgia really helped with this episode.
Yeah.
The anxiety that Picard was going through, which is a lot different from Starfleet Picard, because obviously Starfleet Picard was very stoic. When he was in uniform, when he was Captain Picard, he was extreme. He was always stoic. It was one of his positive traits. That's why he was a captain of a Starfleet vessel, for goodness sake. So you need to be kind of stoic. But obviously, with 30 odd years on, he's an older man. He's much more frail than he was during his Starfleet years, and it really, really showed in this episode. That frailty, that vulnerability. It really, really shows you how far along he's come as a character.
Yeah.
So after that, we get a little bit of space Legolas teasing.
Did you notice that he said he outbutt, or that he should outbutt, and was he in-butting? He keeps mixing the phrase up.
Yeah.
He wasn't butting in. He didn't need to butt out. He was.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But he kind of called Jahardi, basically saying, "I know something's up. What you want to talk about it?" And she's like, "No."
Yeah. I still think I know where this is gonna head, but I did like this between Jahardi and Picard. I thought. I disagree that it makes her. I think it makes her a little more sympathetic because she's trying to hide something that's so weighty, right? We don't know what it is yet, and I think depending on what it ends up being, could either make her sympathetic or not. It'll just really depend.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping that whatever they do for this character, they do it well, because I could see this being a fantastic twist that, whether it goes where we all kind of think it will or not, it can be done really well and be fantastic for this series, or it can be utter crap, and then you'll be like, if it was something completely pointless that nobody cares about by the time they finally have the big reveal, I'll be upset.
Yeah.
Well, we get the nostalgia factor amped up again when we follow Picard back to the Holosuite, where he basically, asks Siri to show him pictures of the Borg. He sees Hugh. Who was the other person he saw? Do you recall who that was? Do you remember, Neil? No. So he saw another, and then he
flipped past Borg, Hugh as a Borg, and then Hugh as a person afterward.
Okay, is that what it was?
Yeah,
okay,
it's Hugh as the reclaimed Borg.
Okay.
XB.
Okay, so an XB, an X-Borg, and then he finds a picture of Locutus, and the camera pans around.
That was great.
To where, it basically lets people know who didn't know before, that is, that Picard was Locutus, and he starts pawing at his face like, is it still there? Is it still there? And then we cut to commercial,
which I hate.
Yeah.
Hating the commercials. Hate the commercials. Did we just gloss over that? Did we talk about the interaction between Dr. Girardi and the captain then?
That's coming up. That was after the commercial. Now, I'm sorry that I can't afford the commercial free version of CBS All Access for you, Nev. I'm sorry. If CBS would like to, sponsor the program, I'd be more than happy to hand that over to you.
Maybe more Patreons.
Yeah. Anyway, we do end up, and I'm going to say this two ways so both sides of the sea can understand. We go and we see that Rios is playing football. Football.
Yes, that's correct.
Or playing soccer.
That was him really playing, right?
He's Spanish, so he's playing football.
Really playing soccer right then.
Because he may be an actor, but because he's European, he knows how to do. As Europeans, that what he was doing with the football, the keepy uppy, we can all do that.
We can all do that.
We can all do that because we've all been playing football since we were toddlers. So we can all do that. We can all all as Europeans, we can all do keepy uppy.
So it's like Americans being able to tell the difference between chicken nuggets and
popcorn chicken.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's a clear difference. I mean, I've never seen a chicken nugget look like popcorn chicken. I mean, that's just
what would the American equivalent be of just being able to know how to play soccer from birth?
Throwing the baseball up and hitting it with the bat.
Yeah, I've never been able to do that.
No.
Can you do that,
yes.
Thad, can you do that?
Yeah, of course.
I can bake a pie. That's pretty American.
Well, that is pretty American. My thought is gluttony. I mean, we're pretty from birth, we're all pretty gluttonous.
But my idea had not formed yet.
Yeah. So. I gotta say two things real quick before we pass this section. One, the actor who plays Rios is a damn good-looking man.
Oh yeah, if my bread was buttered that way, I would definitely hit that.
Absolutely. Yes, his skills were awesome. The keepy uppy was cool, but notice that he kicks the ball away from where the chick comes in, right? So my point that Captain Rios is some kind of non-existent entity still holds water.
No, it doesn't. Not after the last episode, it doesn't.
No, I'm sure it does.
No, hang on a minute. What? No, when they were in the bar and the guy smelt him, the holograms don't have an odor. He could smell the last meal he had.
He does have you there, Thad.
Nope. A
hologram wouldn't. That alien guy that could smell the last meal and who they'd had sex with.
But I have an answer for that.
Okay.
This is, as in terminology, I just started watching Altered Carbon.
Good show.
A sleeve that the ship has just hanging out and can download its entity into. I have an answer for everything, Neil.
That doesn't answer my query. A hologram does not have an odor.
But the sleeve would.
No, because they're not hard light holograms. They can
know.
hold other hologrammatic devices, but they're not like Rimmer from Red Dwarf. They're not hard light holograms. It's soft light. So if it was a hologrammatic projection that was down on the planet in the bar dressed like a pimp, they would still not have an odor, and that alien would not have been able to smell the last meal that he'd had.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So the ship used one of these sleeves, one of these skin sleeves, to send down. That's what the alien smelled. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe the alien just was smelling somebody's perfume.
Very possible.
They sprayed the sleeve with a special perfume.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so he kicks the ball away, and
Jahardi magically appears and picks it up.
yeah,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And just before we go into,
go ahead.
called it in the first episode.
Yeah.
We get the.
So then she starts kissing him, and then immediately is like, "Oh no, I'm making a mistake. Oh, I feel hollow." And then she starts kissing him again. Like, that's got to be good for his self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yeah, she missed the V word as well. She was saying all of the things that she was feeling except for the word vulnerable.
Yeah, which she absolutely was 100%.
Yeah, she was 100% vulnerable. And the weird thing is that it was during this interaction that instantly made me feel a lot more different about those two characters, because I've really, really liked the captain. So I instantly disliked the captain because I'm thinking to myself, dude, you get 100% that she's vulnerable right now and that she's hurting and that she's upset. Fine. Give her comfort, give her a shoulder to cry on, but she's throwing herself at you, and you should be the bigger person, and you shouldn't be saying, "Yeah, sure, I'll go to town on you. Let's go back to my quarters," because that's what he was saying with those beautiful Spanish eyes of his. And
they are beautiful.
So that made me feel kind of a little bit. I was feeling a little bit of animosity towards him because he should have been the gentleman. He should have done the gentleman thing and not done anything. But at the same time, I'm having feelings for her, thinking, well, you know what, you're a nasty piece of work. You murdered somebody, and so I don't like you right now. So I'm happy for somebody to completely and utterly take advantage of you, because you did the worst thing humanly possible to another human being when they were at their most vulnerable as well. So it's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this episode, because I had all these thoughts and these feelings and these emotions running through my head that the writers and the writers of this episode had created, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed this episode so much. So my thoughts and feelings towards these characters have been completely mixed up in this episode.
But honestly, if I was Girardi, you're talking about this beautiful Spanish eyes, with
that agrees with me.
Yeah, with that chest, who?
Yeah, seriously.
Who wouldn't have thrown themselves at Captain Rios?
Yeah, I would totally do it. I mean, my bread's not buttered that way, but that's a sexy man. Here's the thing. He is. Here's the thing, though. Like, when she's listing off those words, who's manipulating who? Is she reaching into him, like his mind, and connecting it. Does he? She says hollow, not vulnerable, hollow, alone, scared, all of these things. Does she say those things? Yes, because that's how she's feeling. But do they connect because that's how he's feeling? And then if that's how he's feeling, why is he feeling that way? Right?
Well, she asked him immediately before that why he liked being in space. It's so empty. It's so quiet. It's so cold. Empty and cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got a backstory that they've alluded to, that he has some kind of trauma in his past, where, yeah, I think that she's definitely like traumatized by her own actions and by what she felt she had to do. But I think she is completely playing this situation, because nobody like came up to her and was like, hey, you look kind of sad by your buddy's death, because nobody knows that they had a relationship. She sought him out. She went for this. She stopped herself, and then she still went for it again.
Yeah, because she wanted to feel good for a few hours.
Yeah.
And it bugs me. I mean, it vexes me because I like both characters, and at the moment, I kind of, I'm kind of not liking her an awful lot at the moment, despite loving her character for the first 5 episodes, and I'm kind of not liking him.
What I like about Star Trek is that they've always gone really heavy on, you don't have to be married to have a consensual relationship. There are a lot of unmarried hookups. So I think that this is not healthy by anyone's standards. Yes, he probably could have resisted her and been like, no, you're vulnerable. But I see this as she's very ready and willing. She's seeking him for all the wrong reasons, but he's not taking advantage of her. She's
doing it herself.
Yeah, she's the one doing the pursuing. And I'm not like woman shaming or any of that. There is a difference between taking an active role in your sexuality and having a man pursue you and like be forceful. Like this is not that. He could have said no, but this is, I mean, she was also a willing participant in this scenario.
Yeah.
Chivalry's dead on that ship.
Let's move along from this awkward sexual tension the episode to even more awkward sexual tension with Cersei and Jamie Narissa and Narek, because we then get we essentially start to see the unraveling of Narek actually being a bad guy. She's messing with this box that opens itself, a puzzle box,
a Rubik's cube.
It's a Rubik's. It's a 23rd century Rubik's cube.
All right, and well, no, it's more of a puzzle box because you have to tip it a certain way to be able to turn something. So it's not technically a Rubik's cube. It is truly a puzzle box.
It's a Rubik's cube with a Cracker Jack prize inside.
It's a futuristic Rubik's cube.
Fine, whatever you guys say.
It has 6 sides, and each side has 9 squares on it.
Paul, just accept it. It's a futuristic Rubik's cube.
3 against 1. It's a futuristic Rubik's cube.
Well, all right. So he snatches the box away and is able to open it for her right then and there to show this little music box spinning thing. But in that, he does reveal that he believes he's found a way to get through to Soji, and that's that she dreams. Why is she programmed to dream? Why? Every piece of synthetic design serves a purpose, he says. And that's major foreshadowing.
Oh yeah,
to what we're going to get later in this episode.
Yeah, I gotta say this was probably one of the first times in the entire series so far that we've really seen his motives, or not, maybe not motives is the wrong word, but like inside his mind. What he's doing, how he's doing, and it does depict him as a villain, But even when I'm watching this, I did not see him as a villain. Like during this moment, I'm seeing him playing a role, and it was my hope that he was playing the role to kind of get his sister to, like appease his sister, buy more time to spend with Soji, and find out other ways, to get to her. But like, I didn't see this as a villainous moment in the moment that I'm watching it. Like looking back, having seen it now, I'm like, okay, maybe I can see more of his motives coming out here and the true side of Naren. But up until like when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, he's saying all this stuff to get his sister to go away.
Yeah, it felt like he was stalling.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I've got this plan. When really he was just falling in love with Soji. And it's not until a little later on in this episode that you kind of look back at everything he's done with a different light.
Yeah. Everything was explained clearly, concisely, and in plain English between him and his sister. And at the end of the scene, I'm like, okay, brilliant. I understood that conversation between the two of them. Do that more, please.
So after that, we end up back on the ship, and Rios is trying to understand how he's not going to get his ship blown out of the sky by entering technically a Romulan secure site in the neutral zone at the artifact, and we get
former neutral zone.
What's that?
Former neutral zone.
Former neutral zone.
Yeah.
And so they're flying there, and he gives all these ideas, and he's like, none of these are going to work. And then Raffi decides, all right, I'm going to start, tweaking again and getting drunk and doing drugs, and I'm going to call somebody. So she drunk dials somebody.
She doesn't. It's a drunk dial a friend.
Yeah.
She drunk dials somebody in Starfleet to get Picard a 24-hour clearance.
She calls her Emmy, I think.
Her Emmy. Let's see if I have the name here.
Captain Emily Bosch.
Captain Emily Bosch. So, basically saying, hey, can you get me this? And she's like, no. And she's like, please.
And then she's like, oh, that's awkward because we're already here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're 3 hours away,
And to help stop a interspace,
intergalactic,
planetary intergalactic. Brouhaha. She goes ahead and gives it to him, and then we get Picard on the cube, and every step of the way. No, what you got?
Before that, sorry. Okay, so she basically exhausts the source. She's not ever allowed to call this person again. As soon as she gets up and starts walking away, it feels like she crumbles as a person.
Oh yeah.
Where it took every last ounce of her to try to be on for a show, and then Picard starts applauding her, and I was like, that is really weird. Like, he's applauding her, and she seems so damaged. Did anybody else find that a really weird moment?
I missed the applause completely, but I agree with the crumbling, because that following scene where her and Raffi are in the room, and you see the pain that she's going through, and that's when she tells the captain, like, oh, hey, guess what? I have a son, and he has a kid that he's gonna have a kid that I'm not gonna know. It's a very emotional scene, and it's you see what she's struggling with and what she's going through. I may also be watching it as we talk, but but like, I've got it on mute, so I'm watching the moment. But like, I'm seeing this.
That part, Picard applauds.
See, in that scene, the chivalry returned to the ship. he held her hand, he listened to her, he was attentive, and then he put the blanket over. He didn't grab her by the hand, take her back to his quarters, and bang the shit out of her. You know, he was a chivalrous captain.
Well, hey, he wasn't a murderer. Maybe he's got a type.
That's true.
I thought maybe he was going to at first when we're all of a sudden in her quarters, and I'm going, freaking Casanova on this episode. How, you know,
those
he's
Spanish eyes.
He's the new James T. Kirk with those Spanish eyes.
Yep.
Well,
So rewatching it, I can see, because it is awkward. Like, he's clapping, she's walking off. It's almost like, hey, you finally did something good, you know?
Yeah. Like, way to go! You just completely destroyed any semblance of your life.
Yeah, good job, drunkie. You know, but yeah, like, but let's face it, those Spanish eyes. We could go on it all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, does anybody also feel? I don't know if it's the delivery, or if it's the direction, or if it's the actor. But clearly, Space Legolas is supposed to be like the comedy relief. But it's just not coming across deadpan enough. I get that it's supposed to be deadpan comedy, deadpan comedy relief. But it just doesn't feel deadpan enough, and I'm kind of getting a little bit concerned that he's. I mean,
it's like supposed to be a funnier take on Spock, I think. Like, he's very serious, but he's supposed to like say things wrong, and
it lands for me. I like Space Legolas.
I mean, I like him. I just don't feel. I feel that they're writing deadpan comedy lines for him to, so that he does get to interject in the conversation. I just don't feel that they're just not hitting with me. It's like, I understand that it's supposed to be deadpan comedy and that I'm supposed to laugh at it, but because it's not landing with me, I'm not laughing, and I'm thinking that could have been done better, or that could have been landed better. It's like, come on, dude, you've only been given a few lines, you've got to hit them right to make me laugh.
That's exactly it. I feel like he was introduced and he's gonna have really a purpose in the story. We needed somebody who could kick butt, and none of our characters were really fitting that bill right then. Like, Picard's too old to kick butt, but I feel like the writers keep saying, oh yeah, gosh, this guy's on the ship, we haven't had him say anything, ooh, let's give him a joke. I feel like they keep he doesn't,
and it's just not landing for me. I wish it was, because I like him.
Yeah.
So after all of this, we go back to the Borg cube where Narek apparently has gotten inside Soji's head, because she starts he tells her, each of your transmissions are 70 seconds long whenever you call your mom, and then she tries to stay awake, but she ends up getting basically rebooted when her mom says, go lay down. But after that, she starts scanning things in her room, and everything's 37 months old.
And why was that her go-to? This didn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
So they were talking about dreams, and he said, hey, you were going to call your mom. And she said, yeah, but I fell asleep. And then he's like, okay, this is not awkward at all, but I did some research on you, and all of your phone calls are 70 seconds. And she goes, that's weird. Let me call my mom again, accidentally fall asleep, and then wake up doubting everything. So I'm going to timestamp everything.
Yeah, those non sequiturs kind of threw me. Yeah, I agree with you there. Those non sequiturs kind of threw me off a little bit as well.
I mean, I do get it. We want to point out the fact that she's only been around for a little over 3 years, but I feel like there was a better way to go about that he could have started with, hey, maybe your memories are planted, and then that would have caused her to wonder about the time frame, that maybe this was an identity built around something. I feel like those two scenes were kind of out of order.
Well, he does say there's the conversation when they're walking through the thing, and isn't in that moment what he does say something to that effect, where it's like, you keep having this dream, maybe it's not real, or maybe it's different, or whatever. I don't remember where that conversation takes place, but like he does say something to that effect.
He does after she mentions that everything is 3 years old.
Okay.
So he comes in after she's been freaking out, tearing things up and tearing down her crayon drawings. I'm like, why are you keeping this on the
Do you
wall?
not have your own crayon drawings, Christy, from
Not
when
on
you
my
were
wall.
3?
No. But yeah, he walks in once she's been timestamping everything, and that's when he says that maybe your memories aren't your own. I've got this great idea. So I feel like he could have led her into that, and that would have made more sense for the viewer.
Yeah.
Rather than she just automatically wonders how old everything is.
Yeah. After this whole freak out moment, did you have anything for this, Nev? Because I want to get to one of my very, very favorite parts of this episode.
No, go ahead.
We end up seeing Picard beam over to the Borg cube, and he starts having all of these flashbacks. We get views from generations. We get views from Star Trek Next Generation.
Lots of archive footage.
Lots of archive footage that just felt so great placed there, and it was Hugh's helpers that were grabbing him, just like when he was captured by the Borg and turned into Locutus. And Hugh's like, they're trying to make sure you don't fall. They're not trying to take you away this time.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, or this recap on space.com that I'm helping myself reference the order of things. They said, and it made me really happy to see this, it's probably the most uplifting moment of the series so far. Somebody's actually happy to see Picard for the first time.
And for that matter, somebody's happy to see a Borg. That's not usually the case.
That's true. That's true. Picard's happy to see Hugh. Hugh's happy to see Picard.
That was genuine affection on both of their parts.
Bit of a bromance.
What do you think, Nev?
Yeah, a bit of a bromance.
Yeah. What did you think about this whole? Did you enjoy the way that it was presented?
Yeah. Do you see me complaining? No.
I don't. I'm just trying to make sure you're still alive over there, because you're not.
He doesn't know what this looks like. He's a little unsure.
No, it was, he was getting turned around. He was feeling, he was upset. He was vulnerable. It's like everything comes flooding back to him. But in his aged and many years state, he reacts differently now than he would have back then. Back then there would have been lots of, camera here, camera here, camera here, camera here, and but he would have been, in his pressed red suit, like, this isn't going to affect me. I'm a Starfleet captain, but he's an old man now, and it's like, oh no, this could kill me. Oh no, this memory could kill me. So yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
Thad, what did as a non-devotee, what did you feel about this part?
I'm gonna say that I was slightly disappointed. Now, it has nothing to do with this scene. It has everything to do with my preconceived notions of who would be involved in this story. And I 100% mistook this guy that he meets, that Jean-Luc meets, for Chris Pine's character. And so I was like, sweet, we're going to get Kirk. That's awesome. And that's not clearly what happened at all.
No, it's absolutely
not even a little bit. But like, I will say that it was cool to see someone who connected with them. It showed like what they were doing for the reclaimed, the former Borg. And I thought that was pretty neat. I was like, all right, that's cool. And it showed what I think, if the series continues further and further on, that we'll see Jean-Luc pick up kind of a, will help the former Borg situation. You know, I think that's going to be a torch that he's going to carry into the into future seasons. So.
Yeah, I really liked this scene. Just in general, it spelled out for me kind of what the whole series is trying to capture. It's like Jean-Luc was always so much the captain. He was the diplomat. He was stoic. He was aloof. He was passionate about things, but always made sure that he followed the rules, and he was Mr. Law and Order. And you take that away from him. You take Starfleet away from him. You take his ship away and his crew. And what you're left with is a man who has flaws and he has fears. And he doesn't have Starfleet to kind of sweep that away anymore. So he's just left with himself and his own demons. And so using the flashbacks, honestly, I love using archive footage just in general. I love that with just about any kind of movie or TV show. And I especially like it when you take those things to play off of like a lapse in time like this. So him being attacked as the Borg, and then the two Borg drones becoming the two reclaimed Borg that were trying to protect him. It just shows that he went in with all of these fears and all of these memories of this trauma that occurred to him. And that's not what the reality is anymore. It's the XBs are just trying to be individuals again. They're trying to help him. They're trying to help each other. And so it just shows what a changed world we're in, and how this is a brand new Star Trek. It's a brand new Picard. Yeah.
And so we get Hugh giving Picard basically the tour of the entire area. You know, he meets some of the reclaimed. He goes into Soji's room, and then he asks, where's Soji? And then we get the major climax of this entire episode.
Oh, so good.
Narek takes Soji into a ritual chamber, a Romulan ritual chamber, and Cersei Lannister is watching on a monitor, and she's going through the dream.
Yep.
And that's when Narek is able to kind of say, okay, look around while you're in this dream.
Lucid dreaming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we go farther and farther into this dream, and the father has no face.
Yep.
She gets around the orchids, and we see a Pinocchio version of Soji and Dodge.
Yeah, she's not just a doll, but a wooden doll.
She was a wooden doll in this dream. And then kind of something that like if you were a Star Wars fan, if you were told to look up and you see two suns, you're going to think Tatooine. Well, you see two red, as I said, blood red moons. So hopefully they're going to, hopefully they, as in if I'm rooting for the bad guys in this situation, but I'm not, that we now know that wherever they are, two red moons is going to be apparently significant to...
And the electrical storms.
And the electrical storms as well. So we get the backstory, and we get essentially the location in description.
So now all we need to do is find out how many probably uninhabited planets have two blood red moons, and we'll narrow it down.
I wouldn't worry about it too much, Paul, because from a narrative point of view, the bad guys aren't going to find those two planets until Picard has found it and spent a couple of hours talking to the people there, and then the bad guys will turn up, conveniently.
It'll be a few episodes while they're trying to figure it out.
And from the infinite directions of space that they will come directly to it, a bit like Star Wars. There's infinite directions that you can escape, but you escape in the direction of the bad guys. The bad guys
if you're
will.
taking a hyperdrive, okay, hold on. Let's jump off track for just a second. If you're taking a hyperdrive, you of all people should know there's specific hyperdrive lanes.
Well, yeah, of course there are hyperdrive lanes,
Okay.
but there are multiple hyperdrive lanes.
There are multiple hyperdrive lanes, but to get from point A to point B, there will be a short, there will be a Google Maps of hyperdrive lanes. So you will know the shortest distance from point A to point B.
Yeah, which is what the Empire would follow, but the Rebellion wouldn't. The Rebellion would be using the secret back smuggler pirate hyperdrive lanes.
Which is what Picard will use to get to whatever planets have the 2 moons.
Mm-hmm.
You know that whenever he's back on the ship, they're going to end up going warp 6. And you're going to be like, why are you going warp 6? Go warp 9. Go warp 9 all the time.
Well, maybe the speed limit is warp 6 there. You don't want to be pulled over by space police.
Seriously.
No, they're in they're in the former neutral zone. There is no speed limit in the former neutral zone. They're in the beta quadrant.
The last thing they want to do is get pulled over by a Federation ship being like, do you know how fast you were going?
Do you know how fast you were going?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me, warp 7 is the maximum speed limit here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's the last thing they want right now.
So after this, Narek is like, all right, we got our information. He heads out the door.
He tells
Go
before
ahead.
he does. Okay. He admits that he does love her. Like, he flat out admits it. He gives her his secret name that he's only supposed to give to the person he loves. And then he puts the box down and walks away. So not only does he really love her, but he is actively choosing to still kill her.
Yeah. Or is he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think he's
You think
trying.
he knew what was going to happen? Because
He
pretty distraught.
Yes, but here's the thing: synthetics have a greater resistance to radiation than humanoid. Whether they're humans or Vulcan, doesn't matter. Synthetics have a much tougher resistance to radiation, and that's what he said. When the guy's like, "Oh, she's banging on the door," it's like, "No, we can't go in. The radiation." So it's like, we can't go in there, but it's radiation, and it's gonna be, it's gonna start going off. It's not going to be like it could eventually kill her, but it's because it's just radiation seeping into the room. It's going to be good enough to A, trigger her, and B, for her to be able to activate her, and then her inner android with the super strength and all of that crap is going to kick in, and she's going to be able to escape. Yes, he's crying. He's crying because he's thinking to himself. I think he's thinking in his mind, please activate. Come on, I love you. Please activate, escape. Which is why he's torn, which is why he's so emotional, which is why he's crying, and which is why he chose that method. He knew his sister would be watching, so he has to follow through with killing her, because that's the plan. That's what the Tal Shiar's plan is, to get the information and kill her. He doesn't want to do that, though, because he's Romeo to her Juliet, and the 2 weeks that he's known her, he's fallen in love with her. And
so
that is why. So I don't think that he was genuinely trying to kill her. He was putting her in enough danger that she would activate and escape.
So we do get her activating. She punches through the floor, goes in between decks, runs off, and Picard and Hugh are able to locate her once she crashes down into the reclaimed Borg infirmary, if you will.
It's very convenient, but still.
Just happened to fall through, just fall through and land right in front of him. I was half expecting him to put his hand out and say, "Come with me if you want to live."
I did feel that.
They did try to head her off, as she's saying.
They found her signal once she got out of the room, which obviously the Romulans had protected so that nobody could see into them, except for their own spyware. But they found her signal, and Hugh had said she's between the floors. So they were heading to where she was. By the time she worked her way down, they caught up with her.
Yeah.
Isn't it a good job that they were really close to each other in that huge, massive Borg cube?
Well, Hugh knows all the shortcuts.
Exactly. Yeah. Hugh starts.
I love this part.
He
knows all the shortcuts
by hitting special things on the walls that people wouldn't normally see. He's activating escape routes and things like that. It takes them to the Queen's chamber, which essentially.
I thought the Queen was gonna pop out.
I thought the Queen was gonna pop out too. Nev, you?
Nah.
No.
Mm-mm.
I didn't know there was a queen.
Like alive. I thought it would just be like her torso, that creepy torso that was just hidden upstairs all the time. I thought it was just gonna like plop out and fall onto the floor or something.
I gotta say though, since I don't know the Borg's like stories, my first thought when it came to them talking about the Queen's chamber, Geonosian Queen. I thought it was gonna be some like crazy bug looking monster.
So you're not far off.
You're not.
All right. Well, good to know. Good to know.
Go watch Generations. We'll see you next week.
Just for that matter, Google Borg Queen so you can see, like, she had these torsos just like in every ship, and she could just transfer her conscience between them. It was really creepy.
Yes, and Thaddeus again, stop dissing, some of the greatest British actors like that have ever graced the screens, because the Borg Queen, again, you're dissing the British actors. She's a British actress. She is, British acting royalty.
There were actually 2 Borg Queens.
No, Alice Krieg always played the Borg Queen in the movie and TV show.
No, I know, but
Susanna Thomas is listed as one of them.
So, Thaddeus, you could say anything about it, and it's like
Alice Krieg and Susanna Thompson.
Thompson, that's the one.
It's like you insulted Jane Judi Dench.
The Brits do it best. Brits do it best. I'm sorry, but British people make the best bad guys.
Take the name of Dame Judi Dench in vain. That woman is amazing, and I will say the best thing to come out of Britain ever. Even that includes America.
Okay, so Susanna Thompson played the Borg Queen in a couple of Voyager episodes. That's probably why you didn't know her.
Yeah.
I know you don't believe in Voyager.
No, I like Voyager.
He's just got parts of certain canon completely blocked out.
Voyager always
Voyager is the only Star Trek
series
series that has a retconned episode.
Oh, it's so bad. Oh, it hurts.
Anyway, so apparently the Borg Queen has this transporter technology that can take them
Stargate
40,000 light years.
Wait, that was a Voyager episode too.
That was a Stargate.
The Sakarans, but there was a Voyager episode where they had a travel pad that could take you anywhere, and they thought they could get home, but it wasn't compatible outside of that planet's homeworld.
Right.
Well, yeah, but that was using wormhole technology, wasn't it?
It was some kind of crystal resonance. It wasn't a wormhole, because it was the reason it would work was because the interior of the planet that they were on was this giant crystal.
Yeah. So there you go on that. Soji and Picard.
Yeah, it was them. Okay, sorry. I feel better. It was them.
As she Googles everything during the show.
Right.
We get the end. They step through, but right before that, though, we do get the part of TVMA where Elnor basically
slices and
dices and makes French fries in 30 different slices.
But not nearly as disgusting.
Not nearly as disgusting as the beheading. But there was blood splatter. That to me is TV 14. What did you think?
It wasn't as gross. It was the murdering was done tastefully because it was done in self-defense.
Tasteful murder, Thad. What about you?
I see tasteful murder. I mean, he did warn
tasteful
them.
Manslaughter. Murder's strong. He was defending, he was defending his ward, so it wasn't murder.
Yeah, I mean, he did warn them. He's like, "Look, don't make me use violence."
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I feel like it's fair.
Necessary use of force.
Yes.
Necessary use of deadly force. So
extreme prejudice.
That Eleanor stays behind. They basically tell him, say, "Hey, we're headed to this location. Meet us there." And the ship turns around, goes, "Where's Eleanor?" And then we see this whole thing play out. And that was the end of the episode. We just hit the 1 hour mark here, so let's wrap up because we still have Talking Clones coming up on Going Nerdy's channel.
I'm so excited.
I know.
So good.
So good.
So, Neil, how many warp cores out of 5, and then we'll talk about the coming up on the next episode. 4 warp cores out of 5.
Wow.
I think that's the highest given one, except for the first episode.
Yeah.
And a whole glass of Guinness or whatever in the world you're drinking.
Yeah,
I mean, there were still issues. There was the whole non sequitur bit in the middle of the episode.
Yeah.
But I think the writers of this episode have earned enough. They've done enough to get away. If they've done something good for 90% of the episode, I will allow them. It's like, oh God, maybe they were on their lunch break or something, and it's like, oh God, look, we need to get from here to here to here. Just do it non-sequitur. Just do 2 non-sequiturs. Don't worry about it. They'll love the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
all right, Thaddeus.
I'm gonna give this probably a 4.25. 4 1/4 warp course. I liked a lot of the stuff here. The dialogue was great. The conversations were great. A lot of cards were put on the table. I think Picards were put on the table. I just was very entertained by this. I really was, and I thought it was really well done.
All right, Mrs. Anthony.
I'm going 4.5, a little bit higher still. I really liked everything except for those 2 scenes. I would have switched and been a little happier. But other than that, I loved the Romulan ritual. I loved Soji's dream and the visual effects. I loved bringing, especially now that I realized that race I was thinking about are the Sakarans, and this was their technology quite explicitly. I love the throwbacks. I especially loved the Picard flashbacks and that visual effect of him syncing up with Locutus of Borg. I just this is a rewatch for me. I'm gonna enjoy this, and this is gonna be one of the episodes I point to tell people to watch Picard. So almost perfect for me.
Even with the Raffi stuff, even with the even with these 2 non sequiturs, even with Bedroom Eyes Casanova, I absolutely loved this episode. I absolutely loved this episode to the point where, as Krittikae said, we're absolutely going to rewatch this episode. This is one of the ones to say, you want to know what Picard is like. Maybe it starts out slow, but this is where it hit its stride. I'm excited for the next episode because of this episode, and I was excited before it even showed me the coming up on next week's episode. For me, well, what are you? Well, why are you doing this?
Because you were about to say before it starts showing me, and you were going to start to. You know where it goes. You know where it says on the next episode.
You don't watch that?
I don't watch that.
You don't watch that? Okay.
No.
Well,
I usually do, but I haven't yet.
I'll use the spoiler duck when I get there. Hang on. But
love the spoiler duck.
It totally. I'm pumped. I think we are back to regular Star Trek. 5 out of 5.
Wow. So we've progressively gone all the way up.
Yes.
All right.
Yep. And by the way, show that to Neil. Riker! Riker's in the next episode.
Oh, good.
Oh, is that who that is?
That's Riker.
Okay. I don't care about that. There was an Ewok in that episode. And that looking forward, I'm pretty confident that was an Ewok. He had a bow and arrow, he had big ears. It's like a taller Ewok, and that's what I'm excited about. I don't know if it'll be it, but possibly.
All right, I'm gonna put the spoiler duck down.
Put the duck down.
So hopefully you couldn't read my lips there, because I was pretty darn excited there, Neil. All right.
I can tell.
All right. So
that is the best news. Sorry, I got a news alert on my phone. Johnny Depp's been recontracted to do Jack Sparrow.
Nice.
Yep.
So
we'll do a Talking Pirates after this.
I think we should definitely review that movie.
It's the only good thing about those movies.
It is the only good.
It's the only good thing about those movies.
All right,
with a 4.4, we'll just call it a 4.44 average for us this week. We certainly did really enjoy this episode. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. We are doing the push for 1,000. If you are not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to us by hitting that little button down at the bottom. Hit the like if you want. You know, I'm not.
Hit the like.
Hit the like.
Log into your friends' accounts. Make them hit the like.
Resistance is futile.
And subscribe with your friends' accounts.
Yeah, subscribe while you're there.
Go look up your parents' internet. Make them subscribe.
Seriously. Your parents would love us.
We got lots of stuff, including if you are a Star Trek fan and you're watching this far into the episode, you truly are a Star Trek fan. Apropos is giving away his season 4 Star Trek Next Generation poster.
Yeah, go to the previous episode and look at the end, and you'll see what it is.
Yeah, you'll be able to see it. It's awesome. Once we hit 1,000 sustainable subscribers, we will be giving that away, and TEPCon funds will be used to literally send it to you as soon as possible from Apropos, because I'm still waiting for my Grand Admiral Thrawn Apro. All right. With that being said, Thaddeus, other than, we got Talking Clones coming up, anything coming up on your channel?
Oh, this week I'm going to be doing a review of the 4 teams you need. 3, maybe 4 teams you need to start Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And additionally, I'm going to be testing out a new series where I compare the characters in the game to their canonical counterparts.
All right.
And
Neil?
maybe something on Tuesday.
And maybe something on Tuesday where we will be talking with Nev on Super Tuesday, which is perfect for those who are in the States, about philosophy. Yeah, I was going to say politics, but philosophy. Very interested in that. Not sure of a time just yet, but it's going to be fun.
All right. Mrs. Anthony, what you working on for shirts for next week?
Well, we have a spring cleaning derby starting on Monday. So shirts about cleaning or not wanting to clean. Other than that, I'm working on a lot of fun ideas to just throw out there. And if you have anything from the podcasts or any of your friends that are looking for stuff, I do also work on commissions. I've been creating logos for people, so hit me up.
Biscuit Weasel's Grand Arena Championship Hospital, which dropped just earlier this morning that I'm his first patient. So check that out as well on the Escape Pod Content Creators Network. That does it for us this week. We'll see you in about 10 minutes once we get our snacks and all that stuff for some Talking Clones.
Indeed.
On Going Nerdy's channel. Thanks for stopping by. Be nice to each other, damn it. And Nev, push the button.
You got it, mate. Ta-ta for now, folks.